Hello, world. Welcome to Queering Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality. This is the LGBTQ Center for Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality, where we discuss science, theology, philosophy, and spirituality with an LGBTQ perspective. And today we are doing part two of cells, DNA, electricity, the nature of cells and DNA, and we are titling it Cells or Genes, Who is King? And the king is genes, of course, but this video we have been listening to Dr. Lipton looks at cells, but he's not wrong in saying that cells are electrically charged. What I think the error he made in the beginning of the video, only that error, is to say that the genes, that scientists trust in genes. No, genes are part of cells. Cells are part of genes. So there's really no mistake when scientists focus on genetics. Maybe what he was trying to say is that scientists don't focus on the electricity, bioelectricity that exists in our body. I think that's what he was supposed to say. But genetics, genes cells are made up of the genes. And we're going to see that we have a chart that's going to happen if we're going to have another part 3. So let's continue from where we left off.
Now we're going to show you how your thoughts go out and affect your life on the outside. This is an older picture of a new technology called magnetoencephalograph, MEG. EEG, you put wires on your skin and read the brain activity. MEG, the probe does not even touch the head. You can read your brain activity outside of your head. It's not magic. Your thoughts are not contained in your head. As I talked about, people are not particles, they're waves.
So he's talking about MEG, the new way of studying brain activity, and it's like wireless technology. You see, technology is beautiful. Science and technology is beautiful because it's always evolving. You know, the beauty of science is there's hope. There's hope. Things are getting better and better and better. And yes, I know, like, people wonder, did people have diseases in the past? They did. These diseases no longer disturb us. They disturbed people many years ago. Do you know Africa suffered plagues, smallpox, but because of medicine, those plagues have disappeared. In fact, the reason why the population of the world is increasing is because of technology is becoming better and better. So even telephone calls, you see, we used to have wires to call people, cable, TV. In the past, you needed aerials to watch television. Now, do you have an aerial? You see? So that's the beauty of science. It's going higher and higher and higher. And we want to announce to you, like what I announced to you, like what happened in the past. Menstruation was never known to be a cycle, but it was happening. And that's what people understood. They didn't understand it. Now we know what menstruation is. Then when it was happening, like the Bible days, it was discharge. And it was unclean. It was called uncleanliness. A woman, whenever she released, she was unclean. This is why even in India, they were never allowed to go to the temple. And in Israel, if a woman is in her period, she was not allowed to go and serve and go and offer. And then in Israel again, the temple or the tabernacle of congregation, the women had an outside. There was an outer court for women, and one of the reasons was they were women. They were menstruating humans, and they didn't allow that. So they would put them, because they felt like that is uncleanliness. The women are unclean. It's because they remove blood every month. And they didn't know what the blood was. It's an egg. It's a cell. And it's a very special, it's not just blood. You see, it's an egg. It's an oocyte. And it only comes from the ovaries. It cannot come from any other place. Only the ovaries. Because if you cut yourself here, you will bleed. So anyway, but menstruation. So the study that it was an oocyte came when human beings started studying the body very well, and now we know it's an oocyte, and we are going to know bigger things. Like now, I ask scientists, if the egg is bloody, could it be, and the semen is not bloody, could it be the mother's blood is actually the one that really affects the children, is the blood that flows in the children? Not that the male has nothing to do with the blood of the children, but it could be that the male doesn't have anything to do because his semen is bloodless. It has no blood cells, red blood cells, but the woman's egg has red blood cells. So this means she is the one who determines the blood groups of the children. That could be one proposition. Then another one, I was thinking to myself, since the semen is bloodless, it is the man who determines, and the man's semen has the X or Y, which determines the sex of the child. Then the man determines the sex of children. It's semen that determines sexuality. And if it determines sexuality, if you have gay sex or straight sex, raw, the semen, if the semen is loaded with X chromosomes, could it be that it can make a man feminine or the woman feminine, the receiver? And if it's loaded with Y chromosomes, does the semen make the woman, or the man, the receiver, masculine? Yes, because we'll discuss this in another video, not today, how seminal sex, when you talk about seminal sex, gay sex is seminal, especially if there is no use of a condom or if a condom bursts, and straight sex is also seminal even if the condom bursts, it's seminal. So the seminal exchange, or no, rather seminal reception. So there was an interesting thing I was reading about in straight sex, that women, their bodies are trained to do away with some of the semen, not all of it. They absorb some of it, but some of it is destroyed because there are acids in the vagina that clear off some of the semen. But the semen, the closer the semen gets to the ovaries, the more it is absorbed into the female system. And then for men in anal sex, there is no system like that. So what happens is, when you have anal sex or even oral sex, like oral sex it's a given. If you swallow the cum, it goes to the stomach, so it's absorbed. So you're eating, and it's very healthy, by the way, to take cum. Yes. And then you have now when you're having anal sex, the colon and the anal canal, remember the anus is just like the vagina, only that it has a small opening, but it is, after the opening, it has a big canal just like the vagina. That's why anal sex is pleasurable. Once you pass the gates, I call them the anal gates, once you pass them, you just find a big field, and that field is the anal canal. Now women have the vaginal canal, and the gates are the labia. The gates of the anus, also women have anuses, so they also engage in anal sex like men, and they have sphincter muscles, so they open. Now once they are open, you enter the canal. Now when you engage in anal sex and semen is released, it falls into the closest canal after the anal canal is the colon, because the anal canal's job is to let the penis enter the canal. Yes, fit inside, and then when it releases, the cum or the semen goes to the colon. So because the colon is not a reproductive part, it will just absorb the semen. So there's no difference with oral sex and anal sex, because the semen is absorbed into the bloodstream. And that's why HIV is easily got through anal sex than vaginal, because of the setup of the anus. So anyway, what am I trying to, I'm showing you. You see, this is knowledge. People have been having anal sex, vaginal sex, oral sex for thousands of years, but they never knew what was happening. But now we know what is happening. That's why we'll also do another video, the apocalyptic nature of science. Science is apocalyptic. It is revelation. We are always revealing, knowing secrets. As I told you, in the beginning of the world, humans, they never knew what menstruation was. Then the second time, when they started studying time, they realized it is a lunar experience that only happens to women. Then the third time, they realized women are not releasing just blood. They are releasing a cell, and they realize it's an egg. And the fourth time, they realize it's an oocyte. So even now, what Lipton is talking about, in the past, brain activity was studied through wires. Now it's wireless study, MEG, and that's what is there. So you see, I had to go through all of that to show you how we are actually knowing, and we will know very many things as time goes by.
And waves become entangled with each other. The people that you get connected to, you are entangled with. And many people are familiar if you think about someone or talk about someone you haven't seen for years. And I say, oh, I haven't seen my friend John in 10 years. And the phone rings and it's John. Or a letter comes in the mail from John. It's like the placebo, nocebo. When you think very positive thoughts of someone, they make an effort to get in touch with you. But it works both ways. If you have a negative thought about somebody, wherever they are, they will create negative talk about you. So it's very important to recognize your thoughts and your judgments are not just connected to you, they're connected to the people you talk about. So
yeah, so that's very true. I even did that just last week. I thought about somebody, and immediately the person called, and I was like, wow, that's very weird. And it happens very many times these days. And it's mostly my friends who I'm now connecting with in the LGBTQ spaces, because when we talk to each other, we have experiences. And that's what I tell people, there is nobody who is alone. That thing called loner is gone. We are all in relationships. Yes, everybody has a relationship with somebody. Even when you go, even these loners who live in their big castles, they have to go and buy food. They have to go and bank money, and there they have a relationship with somebody. That's what he's saying, that you form a relationship with a person, and then when you think about that person, you can actually communicate with them. That's what you call telepathy. And it's happening. You know, in the past, people never knew this used to happen. Now we know it. It's the apocalypse. It's the awakening that's happening all over the world, spiritual awakening. And everybody is learning about this, and they are going higher. Yes, we are going higher and higher. And this is why this is a spiritual channel, a spiritual center. We are learning spiritual things. So there is spiritual communication, and it can happen as he has said.
people would know that if you hit the right frequency, you can cause a crystal goblet to explode. It's called harmonic resonance or constructive interference. You are like a tuning fork with your brain, and you're broadcasting frequencies of your thoughts. Which goblet is going to respond to your thoughts? The one that is harmonically resonant with your thoughts. If you live in fear, you're not going to activate the Dalai Lama, but you may get Scarface to show up. So when you are having thoughts, you are exciting and activating those things in the world that are connected to your thoughts. When a mugger is trying to pick out which person he's going to attack, of the different people walking down the street, which one do you think gets attacked? The one who is most afraid. Because the one who's most afraid will resonate, and that means that the mugger doesn't have to do anything, go boom, and everyone will give him.
Yeah, so he's talking about harmonic resonance. It's like even music. You know, when you understand music, music has a lot of harmony, and it's like war and it's like sex. That's why even mugging is like sex. Stealing from somebody is like sex, because the person who is stealing from you, he's dominant and he overpowers you. That's why rape is similar to theft. Yes, it's similar because the person who is committing the crime is stronger than you. Did you see even in his video when the mugger was speaking, whom did they put before him? A woman. Because women tend to fear more and therefore are more prone to be robbed from, they are more prone to be raped, they are more prone to be. So you see, because of that, that's why society is now realizing the importance of protecting women, because women are susceptible to threats because they harmonically resonate to powerful beings like muggers. They are powerful. A robber is powerful, has a gun, and you're a lady, you don't have a gun, and you're not supposed to be walking in that area at that time. So they come for you. You have nothing to say. Sometimes you don't even need a gun. A man has muscle, so he can just hit a lady, she collapses, and they take her money, they take her stuff. So that's why there's like poles repel, especially in those situations. So you can see everything in the world is working in a spiritual way. And spiritual is electricity, because spirit is air, and air has waves, and waves cannot be separated, and air has charges. Yes, it's also electric because it has atoms. That's why you can sense. Have you walked in a forest and you sense there's danger, there's danger, there's danger? It's because of the environment, the atmosphere. Yes, that's how it is. Life is like that. We are always supposed to sense. We are sensors, and we sense very many things. But sometimes the problem of our sensing, we can become so paranoid, and sometimes paranoia is based on past experiences. You see, that's why women or even men who've gone through rape, they tend to react very, very carefully, and they're very paranoid when they're in situations that remind them of the rape they went through, or even the theft or the robbery, because that experience, it was so intense and they didn't like it at all. Anything that looks like what they went through, they don't want. So you find even ladies who went through abuse, they really don't want to stay with men. Yes, they really don't want to be around men, and they feel bad to be in their presence. And that's why some ladies, even who are straight and they decide to be single, don't attack them. There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason, and you don't disturb them for that. Even a man who wants to be single, everybody, let people be themselves. That's my view, because you don't know their experience. You see, the problem of people, they force people to be in boxes, forgetting that this person had a unique experience, that if you put him in that box, he may not function well. You may even destroy him. So I personally, what I do with people, I let people live, and study them, because every person I meet, I say Bill Nye all the time. Bill Nye said it, that there is nothing you can't learn from anybody. Everybody has something that nobody has but that person. And there's an experience. All of us have unique experiences. So we learn from each and every person. Every person in the world is useful. Nobody is useless. Absolutely none. Get that, and you will enjoy the world. If you want to cure antisociality, get that understanding. Even the poorest person, you will learn something from him. Even the uneducated person, you will learn something from him. That's what unique experiences. So anyway, that's the harmonic resonance that happens because your thoughts, your thoughts can even go out. That's why, have you noticed sex language, sexual body language? It's very powerful. You can just look at a person eye to eye. Immediately, they know what you want. Immediately. That's the power of this resonance. Because you tell the person with your eye, look, I want to sleep with you. You just, you don't even say anything. But your thought has spoken. And there's a way you wire your thought to that person. And that person is aware what you wanted. Then that person says, but why is this guy looking at me? There's something you've triggered. Now, the person who asks, why is this person looking at me, is a person who is not resonating with that person. But if you look at a person and they look at you and you keep quiet, there's a communication that has happened. You've got it. You've got the signal. All right, let's go on.
Give them everything. But while it works for individuals, it is very powerful when a whole group of people have the same thoughts. You can't make a war unless enough people are ready to make a war. I'm going to show a picture of mass action here, and it relates to in New York City 1 year after 9/11. So this is September 11th, 2002, the 1-year anniversary of 9/11. What was everybody in New York thinking about that day? The winning number, 911, because we collectively create the reality. So when you look at yourself, you're not a single entity, but you are a community of 50 trillion cells. But it's important to understand the word community. Every cell is intelligent, but when they're in a community, they give up their personal intelligence and respond to the central voice. So that the community represents one thing called an organism. And in that community, that a cell must follow what the central voice is. And if the central voice says to die, the cells will die. So the central voice is the mind. And I will be talking about the nature of the two parts of the mind and why we have trouble sometimes controlling our life. So what I would talk about is the role of...
Okay, so he's now saying that the cell, your body is a community of 50 trillion cells. Never look at it as just a body. It is coordinated cells working together. But there's a mistake, or there's a dangerous perception with if you run with this theory. Number one, you see, sickness is also cellular. Viruses are also chemicals. They are cellular. And when they enter the body, they destroy cells. Now, when they destroy cells, they cause disorganization in the body system. Like, I talk of HIV is the best because at least I've read about it very well. So the HIV destroys the T4 cells. And when you destroy the T4 cells, you lower the immunity system of the whole community of 50 trillion cells. So when that happens, any sickness can take you. That's why people who have HIV, some of them die with tuberculosis, some of them die after a malaria attack, some of them die after pneumonia, some of them die after very many other diseases that have come because the virus has destroyed all the security guards called T4 cells. See why I said community of 50 trillion cells? That's a country of 50 trillion citizens. And the viruses are external forces that fight this country. And HIV goes to fight the central army called the T4 cells. And when they fight the T4 cells, they kill all the best shooters, the T4 cells. And once they have done that, they destroy the country. And now the country suffers. So any external disease, because pneumonia is externally instigated, tuberculosis is externally instigated, because you see, TB, if somebody has TB and you're in his presence and you have HIV and you're not doing anything with that HIV, you're not taking ARVs, that TB will get to you and you will die of TB within a very short time. Reason, your immune system is down, and now anything can come into you and take you away. So what he's trying to say is, so what am I trying to say when I'm bringing that story of HIV is that your body, much as the organisms work, it's not that they work perfectly. When you're sick, just know the system is not working. When you have a terminal illness, like even a mental disorder, you're not working. Yes, your cell, the community of cells is in disorganization. This is why people with mental disorders, you can tell their lives is not okay. They are depressed, they're always sad, they're always moody, they don't want to eat, they have eating disorders. It's because of the disorganization that has been caused by the mental disorder that is a chemical accident or chemical injury. And some of these chemical injuries are genetic because genes are chemicals. That's why many people who are schizophrenic, their parents were schizophrenic. And that's why people who are gay, 80% someone in their family was gay. Yes, that is very important. So it's passed down to the family. So this is why disorders, blindness, all of these things happen. And that's why our bodies, why do we have doctors? It's to bring back the system in order. But please understand, some conditions will never be solved, or at least right now. Though there are two things that have come and changed medicine: genetic editing and stem cell science. Genetic editing best works at birth. Right now, it's impossible to genetically edit me. Do you know how many cells I have? 50 trillion. And each cell has my DNA, my acids. So even if you change me, even if you do genetic, and you can do genetic editing through sex. As I told you, when you take semen, when you receive semen, it can modify parts of your DNA, your genetic makeup, not all of it. That's why when I was reading that article about semen, the importance of semen, they noticed women who had sex with different men. In this study they did, it was mainly heterosexual. The women looked different, they looked younger, and then also the women who had children from very many men, the children had different, of course, they had different genetic makeup, but there was something that happened to the woman. Uh, she also changed because she's receiving semen from another gene structure. Yeah, if you understand what we are saying now, you will love knowledge. You see, I'm a chemical, and when my chemicals meet another person, whether a man or a woman, they form another chemical. That's what you need to understand. Even gay sex is very important because you may not form a baby, but you are loading that person with genetic material. You see, HIV is a genetic disease. Why is it that people who have HIV, they even become slim? It's because the chemical in the virus has already destroyed the T4 cells, which has genes. These are special genes that are built to fight disease, so they're dead. So now the virus now replicates, and in fact the virus loves DNA and keeps on hanging on it because DNA has the ability of replicating. You see, whenever you cut your hair, it always grows. That is because of the genetic code in the hair cell. It's always replicating. So viruses like sitting on replicators so that they can replicate themselves. Now when that happens, it destroys very many parts of the cells. Now when you destroy cells, what are you destroying? Genes. And what happens? Your genetic makeup changes. So you find someone becoming slim, someone who was maybe very big, all of a sudden became slim, and then you ask yourself, what did this person have? Then you realize that they have a condition. Yes, they had a condition that led them to lose weight. That's what you need to understand. And you losing of your weight can even change your appearance. Your face even changes. Yes, that's what you need to understand. Like IDs, oh my goodness, they are old news. Because with these genetic diseases, people are changing their forms. Look at Angelina Jolie. Her cancer was so genetic. She chopped off her breasts completely. She's flat-chested. Now, what do you call her? And remember, the breasts also have hormones, female hormones. So she has reduced in her female hormones. So she becomes more masculine. And look what happened in her life. You see? Very interesting. And remember, she has a child who is transgender. And that's from the blood. See how beautiful life is? Yes. All of these things are genetic. All of these things are cellular. So what are we saying? Let's finish this so that we continue and finish the video. We are saying that the whole body, just because it's a community of 50 trillion cells, does not mean it must work perfectly. This is a problem I have with very many religious people. They don't understand that systems have errors. That's what George Soros said. Very wonderful statement that made me sleep. You know, there are some statements that make you forget about problems. That was one of them. That the systems of the world have errors. And he said the systems of man. But I want to extrapolate it and say every system has an error. Even a star, even the sun has errors. Yes. Do you think the sun is perfect? Do you think Saturn, the planet Saturn, is a perfect planet? What's the perfect planet? Is Earth the perfect planet? Nah. Look at the problems it has. People die. Mother Nature destroys people. Is that perfection? I mean, if there's a problem, why can't Mother Earth solve it very well? You see, it can't. So every life form has errors. Even you have errors. I have errors. Genetic errors. Yes. I have errors. You have errors. You have mental disorders. There is no human who is perfectly healthy. None. None. Not even Bill Gates. Yes. Because we all have genetic errors, and some people have few diseases because of their genetic makeup. This is what's going to happen in the world to come. We are going to study which genes are very good for life. There are people who have, like, look at the Asians. They live very long. Very long. 100 years. Look at Japan. They are complaining. They have too many old people. And it's reason, look at the diet. Because the diet is chemicals. The climate is chemicals. The medicine is chemicals. The blood is chemicals. The genes are chemicals. So you look at the genetic makeup of Chinese people, and then you say, or the Asians, then you say, this is the one we need. Other genetic groups age faster. And why? Chemicals. Like Africa, it has toxic chemicals called diseases. HIV, very toxic chemical that has finished most of Africa. And then now cancer is a new chemical that is attacking people. Reason being our lifestyle, especially our chemical, our diet. Our chemical diet is bringing cancer. Because some of the chemicals in the food we eat have the propensity to raise up cancer in your body. Do you know you can't blame the foods. This is another thing I said in another video recently. You can't blame McDonald's for cancer. There's a reason. Many people have eaten McDonald's and have not died from cancer. So if you die from cancer because of eating from McDonald's, but the other person who has been eating like you, the same, even more, does not die of cancer, then it's not McDonald's fault. It's your genetic makeup. And your chemicals that you took, whatever you've been eating, mixed up, and then must have awakened a chemical error in your genetic makeup that led you to get the cancer. So it's not necessarily what you eat, but it is who you are. So this is why people have gone to great lengths to study their genetic, to get the genome. And I would encourage you, if you have the money, it's very expensive, but if you have the money, you can go and get to know your genome and know where you are from. And then you'll find out your diseases. Look at Arabs, they suffer from diabetes. Many of them have diabetes. And of course, it is their diet. They like very sweet things, dates, and all of those, sugar. You see, when you eat dates, you eat fruits, they encourage you to eat sugars. You will have a sweet tooth. The sweet is because fruits also have sugar, natural sugars. So the guys who made foods, chemical processed foods, they now learned, okay, sugar is made like this. Now we're going to make a complex sugar so that people can like it more. And they buy candy. They buy all of these sweet things. And then because their genetic makeup is bent to have diabetes, they get diabetes. That's why you find some countries, they don't have high diabetes. You go and look at their genes. Oh, I'm telling you, science has been concluded. Wake up. Enjoy the world. All right. Let's see if we can finish this.
How this mind works. First, there are signals from the environment, the internal and external environment. The brain, the function of the brain is to perceive the signals and then interpret those signals and then send the information to the cells to control the behavior and the genetics. So the function of the brain is perception, and from that creates the mind. Now, we have heard of something called the placebo effect, right? The placebo effect is when you have a very positive thought that something can heal you, even if you don't know it, but it's a sugar pill, but you believe it's the real medicine, then you can heal yourself with that. So the pill didn't heal you, it was the thought that healed you. Statistics reveal that 1/3 of all medical healings, including surgery, are the result of the placebo effect. Now,
very, very important. And this also happens in healing, spiritual healing. I told you about Benny Hinn.